Are you serious? Are you serious? Welcome to the coming apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul Begley. Tonight is going to be a powerful, powerful broadcast. Now, we are having some technical difficulties. I don't have a monitor working, so I can't see what Brock's putting on the screen. But that's all right. We know how to improvise, okay? Mike from around the world is going to be joining us tonight in probably one of the most important live broadcasts we've ever done in the 10-year history of this ministry and online networks. We're on all of our social networks except Periscope. For some reason, technical difficulties, Periscope won't engage. We'll work on that tomorrow. But for now, here we are. And tonight, we have to talk about coronavirus. The NBA season canceled. The March Madness, they took the madness out of March, or did they? It's canceled. The Major League, the National Hockey League season canceled. Major League Baseball, beginning of the season, canceled. Churches are being told to cancel in all mega churches, especially in the Seattle and San Francisco area. And there's other parts of the country where large gatherings are now being considered illegal. And we don't know what the President of the United States will do as it relates to holding his political rallies, as that is his strongest point that he has. But with the stock market losing another 2,352 points, the worst single day since the Black Monday of 1987, October 1987, after having a horrific day yesterday of 2,000 points. But the big story is the United States government is saying in Congress that up to 150 million Americans could get the coronavirus. U.S. projection. Reports coming out. This is Yahoo News, right off not Yahoo News, also the Drudge Report and the Associated Press out of Washington. Between 70 and 150 million people in the United States could eventually be infected with the coronavirus, according to projections shared with Congress, a lawmaker said today. Congresswoman Rashid Tlaib. We're looking for Mike from around the world. He's going to join us any moment. We're waiting for his phone call right now. Mike from around the world. And this is going to be a powerful, powerful revelation tonight. Will America enter martial law? Are we on the brink of martial law? And Mike around the world told us in late November that we were going to see, he said, watch China. Something big is about to happen. And he was right, coronavirus. Then later in late December, Mike told us in March, lots of people are going to die. Let's find out if we can get more. Joining us right now from an undisclosed location somewhere in the world, it's Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Pastor Paul Begley, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing good. Let's see if we can get this up a little higher on the volume.
All right.
Doing good, Mike. Hang on one second. I'm going to set it here so the guys at the radio can hear you good. And I think we got you there. All right, Mike, great to have you tonight. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, it sure has. It most certainly has. Look at us, America. We have entered into it, haven't we?
We really have, Mike. Again, stock market lost 2,350 some points again today. The worst day since Black Monday of October of 87. Major League Baseball closed. National Hockey League closed. The NBA season closed. March Madness, well, they thought they took the madness out of March, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like madness is everywhere. We're out of toilet paper in West Lafayette, out of toilet paper in San Diego. They're out of toilet paper in Toronto. Mike, what's going on?
Well, it's the, this fear element. As we talked about this, Pastor Paul, and to watch the reactions of people in this episode, this coronavirus episode. And they are really going to the extreme, aren't they?
They really are. The reaction is way over the top, Mike. And I mean, in comparison, I went through the numbers. I mean, we've got 1,600 cases in America. 31 people have died. Now, I think around 36,000 people have died from the flu this year already. But why in the world is it all so over the top? It's as if it's being orchestrated. I'm not saying the coronavirus isn't real, Mike, but we got a physician in the Congress today saying that between 70 and 150 million Americans could get the coronavirus. Is that possible?
Yeah, actually, that's a very conservative number, to be honest with you. Now, but this coronavirus itself, yes, they're taking a pretty good look at this virus, and they won't have a vaccine until a year from now, so they say, right? So right. I think when they came out with a comment that scared folks, and then of course that the death toll in China had attention due to the protests, and then all of a sudden this coronavirus hit, and China was in disarray. Well, they began to announce a death rate in China, which scared people. And at first, everybody over here was okay with it because nobody had died from it. As the numbers are increasing, if you notice, every single day they put an emphasis on how the numbers are doubling. But if you listen carefully at what they're doing, every day they come on, they're making this somewhat of an emergency type of situation, which is why knowing the facts about the virus is imperative. But the reaction of the people has this runaway effect, and right now, more than ever, these folks are listening to each other, not so much the experts, because of conflicting reports and information that's not very consistent, which, that creates one of those perfect environments for fear. And then, of course, the imagination of an individual runs away. You got to remember, we're the generation who watched zombie movies, and all these different movies are implanted in our minds, and our imagination runs away because we've been super blessed and we've had somewhat of a controlled environment. So you put an unknown variable among people, and they begin to panic in the news. The news is, it seems that they're putting an emphasis on how quick this thing is spreading. But the truth is, the ratio between those who get the virus and those who are dying right now is a bit, it's normal, believe it or not.
Well, that's a good point, Mike. Just to look at this number right now, for instance, Italy is saying they have 12,462 cases, and Italy says they have 827 deaths. Now, that's about 7%, and that's pretty high compared to China, which only says 3,056 people died out of 80,000. I don't believe those numbers, though. We can't believe the China numbers, can we?
No.
So, Mike, whenever you say, yeah, it's very possible that between 70 and 150 million Americans could actually get that virus, that must mean China never told us the truth. Let's just be honest. They must have been in the millions of people who got sick, and maybe close to 1 million that died. Would you say that's possible?
Oh, yeah, because if you look at the accountability and how they're doing this, look at the states, for example. I'm going to share something with you right now that is probably true. I'm going to just put something out there. But in America, those who are tested with the virus, now remember, what was it, about 5 or 6 days ago, they had the test kits for this virus. Right? They announced that. If you watch the reaction and the rhetoric that they're putting out, officials are putting out, you're going to hear massive inconsistencies. Of course, after this show, they'll probably straighten them up, but they said that they finally had the test kits for the coronavirus that went out to all the states, but that was the other day. That was yesterday, as a matter of fact. Prior to that, they said they couldn't facilitate the testing of the coronavirus in all the states. They said this on national television. They said this to the public. How are they counting numbers And how do they have proper accountability in all states, of those in all states who could have had the coronavirus, if they didn't have or didn't facilitate the tools and the instruments and have the data to actually check for it? So you can't check for a virus, right, if you don't have the markers for it, because you won't be able to detect it. So that means of those places that had the test kits, they were testing individuals. And if they showed up positive, if the person reported to the hospital, if they showed up positive, well, then they had the coronavirus, and thus we got the numbers. But if everybody was watching the numbers carefully, and I would encourage everybody to do so now, you're going to notice that the numbers are just simply not right. With the individuals that had the virus, they were on the West Coast. Well, when they were confined to the West Coast, it popped up in other nations as well as the East Coast. Then you had these conflicting stories of individuals who had them in a variety of states, and those articles went away only to come back again about a couple of weeks later. So what we have is an accountability issue. The average person that gets sick, that coughs or something like that, they're not going to the doctor.
No.
Some people tough it out. The only way they can actually add a person to their numbers is if a person reports to a hospital, and then that hospital runs a test and they get the data back. That's the only way. So normally, here's how it works. If for the numbers that they're giving in the USA, you multiply that by a few factors. If it's 1,000, for example, well, then you know that there's a great chance that 3/4 of the people will not report to the hospital. So only 1,000 of all who have it will report to the hospital. The other 3/4 will not report to the hospital. So whatever number you have of those people detected, that number, you have to raise that number, because that would be a very inaccurate number as far as having absolute accountability.
So you're saying, in other words, whatever you see the numbers, you at least take it times 5 here in America, certainly.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
And with this virus, likely even more than 5, I would say.
Maybe 10.
More than 5.
Maybe 10, maybe 20.
Now, given that fact also, the lethality of this virus, as far as those who get it and those who die, if you look at the causes behind the individuals who are dying because of the virus, you're going to find that these individuals were not properly taken care of. For the most part, either they had pre-existing conditions, which is why they keep saying this, or they simply were just totally depleted of water or something like that in their systems. And so the virus is causing death by dehydration. Some people had strokes, something akin to strokes, cardiac arrests, things of that nature, which are basically because a person is not getting nutrition or fluids as they have this virus, because no one was attending to it. So, and the virus itself, it's likely to kill a bit more than the average virus that goes around, the average flu. True, that is true. Some of the factors are still unknown, but you're still facing something very similar to influenza, something very similar to the rest of the viruses and the flus that we have that we encounter. I know the president put out 32 or 33,000 people had the flu. Normally, over 88,000 people per year die from the flu. Normally, that's a normal number. That's been that way since 2014.
Right here in the United States, about 80,000.
In the U.S.
So
80,000 people in the U.S.
So are we over-exaggerating? I mean, not over-exaggerating, but are we overreacting?
Well, the people, when they hear that there's going to be a virus and they can't get what they need, they can't get the info they need, no one can actually give them a comforting word and tell them that they won't get it. People panic. The truth is, everybody will eventually get this virus. It's not going to kill everybody. That's a fact. It will not. It's a new virus. It's in a brand new environment, right? It's going to jump from host to host, body to body. Eventually, people will get this virus just as they catch a cold, just as they catch the flu, and their body deals with it. And it's not going to kill everybody. It's just one of the issues is, and the emphasis, I think they got this one wrong, was they didn't want everybody getting this virus at one time because it'll overwhelm the hospitals. Right? If everybody starts getting this virus at the same time, they're going to overwhelm the resources. Then you're going to have a people problem. The problem right now is not really the virus. It's the people's reaction to the virus. Right? And people are going around buying up things. They're afraid to invest. So these adverse effects are happening. Like our economy right now is in bad shape. They're going to have to lock prices in some type of way. People are losing income. Small businesses are shutting down. Schools are shutting down. Churches are shutting down. All these different things are shutting down. Mandatory quarantines are taking place tonight. Neighborhoods are being locked down. You know, this, that, and the other.
Okay, now, Mike, let's talk about this for a second. You told us 7 years ago. I remember having you on the show. I was over at the apartment at the time in the little corner. And you came on and said, Paul, something you're going to need to know is there's a day coming, a thing called citizen containment is coming.
Yes.
And when I heard that Italy completely shut the nation down, when I saw containment going on in major cities in China, but when I saw this 1 mile radius, New Rochelle, New York, that Governor Cuomo decided to shut down a Jewish community that has 108 cases of coronavirus in it, and literally sending in the National Guard. Is that what you would call, is that the beginning of a new concept in America called citizen containment?
Well, of course it is. Here's why. Anytime there's a massive exercise, right? You collect data, you see how it's working, you save that data for implementation for the next time. It just so happens we have a real scenario taking place. Out of all the simulations that have been conducted in the United States of America, we have a real scenario taking place. This scenario is going to last as long as this virus spreads. In the meanwhile, it's going to cause some issues and some problems, and there are going to be some changes.
Do you think, is there going to be more of these? Do you see more across the country?
We're not even at the precipice of this virus. When the plateau of this virus hits, the numbers will begin to decline. But prior to that time, Pastor Paul, it's going to spread through, it's going to sweep through America. And again, the people are reacting in this odd, strange way. Half of that is due to our minds have, well, not us, we're older, but this generation thinks in a very strange way because of computers. It's a demand type of mindset that they have. And this virus is just simply not computing. So they go into a panic and they go get everything they can because they're afraid to catch the virus, not understanding the nature of the virus itself.
But is some of that, Mike, and I hate to interrupt, but is some of that media driven? I mean, isn't the media and these big corporations just shutting down industries?
Are you still there?
Yeah, Mike, is some of this media driven, creating panic and fear? And,
yes.
You know.
Yes. Yeah, because even the media, you can look at the faces. I was looking at the media, and I looked into the faces of the media. Very few of them know what's going on. That they actually have a fear behind themselves also. So they are somewhat frightened also. The military is stepping in to keep people away from each other so it does not overwhelm resources. That's very important. I don't think that people really understand the role of the military in this, but they're going to certainly see it. And that's, there's going to be an accident here or there. It's going to break out. China did the same thing. We're going to have it worse because the people are not listening to their governors. For example, there were a few governors that got together and they had asked some individuals not to go into a specific area. Not more than an hour later, individuals were in this area. So they're going to have to force individuals to stay within certain areas. This goes for highways. They will control traffic. every county seat is going to have a control mechanism in it. The network is set up to monitor all these things. I guess you can call them pillboxes on the side of the highways. They're going to be manned. We're going to have patrols of drones. You name it, we're going to have it.
What?
Because
that's martial law. That's martial law. Mike, are we going to have martial? Let me tell you what Brock said today. Brock just brought me a note, said, because he was out and about today, and he said people in the West Lafayette area of a college town, a lot of professors where we live. It's a kind of a I don't know. The blue collar side lives in Lafayette. That's where Caterpillar and Subaru and some of the big factories, big companies are. West Lafayette is the academic side. The academia people live over here, okay? And the college students. Well, Brock was in town today. He went in 2 or 3 different supermarkets. People were pushing, shoving, piling food in carts. No toilet paper anywhere in the city of West Lafayette or Lafayette. Nowhere. All the Myers stores, Walmarts, all of them, no toilet paper. Why in the world that's become the number one? I mean, water and food, I understand, but toilet paper, I don't get it. But Brock said they were upset. People were mad. They were cutting in line. They were fighting with each other over stuff. I mean, is this thing headed to martial law? I guess it's the question, Mike. Jade Helm and these other black helicopters and frogmen jumping out in the streets of L.A.? I mean, was all that to bring us to this? Is martial law coming?
Jade Helm and other exercises were designed in conjunction with JSOC and Northcom to keep people in certain areas, to contain the populace, right? To contain them and to keep them within certain borders, to make them compliant, to patrol the streets, to do what they have to do, and to keep civilians in one spot. Because keep in mind now, we're at a very delicate place here. Here's why. We have this virus, yes. They're trying to control the movements of people. We're running out of resources. China's not shipping things all over the place. Other shipments have also stopped. Our granaries are empty. We have somewhat of a food problem, and all of this is compiling, and it's building up all at one time. I don't believe that. I know people think the virus is the main problem. Pastor Paul, I'll tell you right now, the problem is going to be a people problem, because not only are we dealing with the virus, but we're also dealing with the chaos behind each individual. There's going to be a problem with the banks also, because they're losing their capital because of the stock market. You know, they invest people's money, and when business slows down, so does the return on folks, their savings account, checks account, so on and so forth. They can't make money. All this is connected one to another in the United States of America, is hitting us harder than anybody could realize. Everybody's trying to get the populace to not go down this road, to calm down a bit, not to panic. They're trying this on purpose. They're backing off the numbers. They're not going to report the real numbers because people panic with the small numbers. What do you think they're going to do if they said, 600,000 are infected by this virus? They don't have to mention a death. People automatically will assume that many are going to die, which is not the truth. But people are going to cause a problem, and people will eventually cause death. So, yes, Northcom has to step in. You're going to have National Guard called up. You're going to have all these forces called up to contain the populace, to keep an order in the USA. All this will happen while we're under one of the most dangerous terrorist threats we've ever encountered. We're under that threat right now. I know they're trying to play it cool on the media, the news, and everywhere else, but we have some serious issues taking place right now, and this virus couldn't have happened at a worse time. But the people they're just they're making this problem worse because they are overreacting. And they didn't take it serious when it happened in China, not knowing that China, if they start breaking down, so will the economies of the world. The oil wars are now in play. Somebody's going to have to take over certain shipments because the U.S. has lost its edge in the barrels we exported, which is why our prices are going down, and they're going to fuel the military. The Middle East is not cooling off, it's heating up. And we have all these different things happening, and people are going to be locked in their houses, their doors. They're not going to be able to do what they want to do during this time of this virus. It's one of those real situations that possibly certain commanders dream of. But unfortunately for us, it's going to be one of those things that'll be highly convenient. Will it pass? Yes, it'll pass. But will the containment pass? I'm not so sure. I'm just not so sure. Sometimes when a change takes place like this, it lingers, for a long time. So this could actually be the beginning of a new way that we operate in America. We'll just have to, that's one of those things we'll have to see, because this will go on for the next, 6 to 9 months.
Folks, this is Mike from around the world with some tremendous information. Mike is the one who told us you told us in late November, watch China, because something big is going to happen. And then I believe it was in late December you told us, when we started hearing about the coronavirus in China, you said, March, unfortunately, a lot of people are going to die. Here we are. You were dead on the money with China, and you're on the money with March. People are dying now everywhere. It's a pandemic. The World Health Organization has declared it. The stock market is tumbling and crashing. And even though the U.S. economy was incredibly, unbelievably powerful, with the highest jobs and people making money and the unemployment at record lows and all the things that were happening, nobody's seen the beginning of sorrows. No one saw. And by the way, Mike, you talk about containment may be the new way of the future, the brave new world that America may have to understand due to the chaos that could take place. You're saying the Middle East is heating up, and I know this is very important. I just seen where 30,000 more U.S. troops just deployed into Europe. There's thousands of U.S. troops deploying in the Middle East, as well as other nations like France, the U.K., and others. So what's about to happen there? Is it the peace deal, or are we getting ready to see a war between the Shiites and the Sunni Muslims? I mean, what's happening, Mike?
Pastor, we have a very explosive issue around the world right now. I could use the analogy of getting a bunch of people together, right, and put them in one house. And the first year of living together, everybody's fine, right? After a couple of years, when you really get to know someone, that's when you really take a second look at who you're living with. After another year, you can't stand the habits of the other person. And the fourth year, you're ready to break out or break somebody's neck. And so this is what we see happening in the world. There's a violence, a type of irritation, like a spirit has grabbed hold of a great many people, and they are, it's just like Iran is steaming. They are so incredibly upset with everything. Turkey is upset with everything. Europe is fed up to the rim with everything. Even Italy is fed up to the rim. The terrorists, ISIS, they're starting to reorganize. We're having to engage elements of ISIS just about every day now. And lives are being lost. More equipment is being shipped out to strategic locations so that no one country can have air superiority. They're going to begin air Saudis again. We have naval patrols that have been doubled in various areas around the world because the tensions are so incredibly high. And we're not dealing with baby weapons either. We're dealing with some very advanced weaponry. The U.S., I know that we live in this country. Everybody lives in this country, so it's very difficult to see what's true and what's not, what's bluster and what is not. The truth is, we have put ourselves in a position. We have become, we're going to be tested on just about all fronts, but the world as a whole has become irritated at everything. They do not like any of the philosophies that are going around. They are reorganizing in the Middle East. There is an unholy alliance forming right now in the Middle East, and it's growing. And these guys, their chatter is off the scales. These guys are coordinating something every single day.
Is it about Israel, Mike? I mean, are these guys?
Yes, it is about Israel. There is no peace in the Middle East, period. See, you're dealing with countries like, you're dealing with Iran and Turkey, Syria, all these different countries. They have already decreed that there will be no peace in the Middle East so long as Jerusalem and Israel exist. So their entire goal is to go into Jerusalem and to defile it and to erect one of their temples there. This is what they want to do. This is what they continue to decree they're going to do. They talk about this all the time. Children are born in Iraq right now, and in Turkey right now, and in Syria right now, and in Jordan right now, and in Saudi Arabia right now. They're born over in these places. They grow up learning a philosophy where Israel is in the way. They're not to be accepted. They're in the way. When they become older people, they can shake hands with everybody, but in the back of their mind, at the core of their faith, they know that Israel is a problem. Israel is this dark element to their paradise. And so no matter what they negotiate, Pastor Paul, they will always revert back to their core basics of that faith element. When a person is inundated with issues and problems, when a person starts growing in life and everything else, and if things were to ever get too rough or they get frustrated, the only thing that person has is what they grew up with. That's home to them. Whatever you grew up with is home to you, and you tend to go back to those values. You tend to go back to those ideologies when you start seeing everything else fail. In the Middle East, they're going back to the ideology that Israel shouldn't be there. That they shouldn't, they should not have that land, that God wants them to have that. This is what they believe. And so no one's going to shake that. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse and worse. And now you have this generation of young people who are not afraid to act. They are emboldening some of the older guys, like Salami, who recently died. He was emboldened by some of the younger generation who really, they really just worship this guy and his strategy concerning the Middle East. But now you have hundreds of little tiny Salamis who have taken his place, who are now calling for action on several fronts. But they're doing more than talking. They're coordinating, and it's only a matter of time before they attack.
So, Mike, folks, Mike Around the World's with us tonight with some powerful information. Let's look at Matthew 24, just a few verses. Jesus was asked the question. He's sitting on the Mount of Olives, and they said, "Could you tell us the sign of thy coming in the end of the world?" Jesus answered and said, "Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name and say, I am Christ, and shall deceive many." L.A. Marzulli this weekend at the Watchman Conference pointed out there's 12 very powerful men right now in the world who all say they are Jesus Christ. They're in 12 different countries of the world with large followings. They literally say they are Christ. Even one has signs and wonders. In verse 6, "And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines." Look at the locusts. Look at the locusts, what it's done to Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, Yemen, Oman, Iran. It's even into China. But look at the famines in Venezuela, North Korea, Cuba, China, all over the world where socialism or communism reigns. But in a moment or two, wait till you see the famine on shelves in America, okay? Due to the lack of stuff being shipped and a lack of ability to produce and the fear factor that people are experiencing. You'll see famine right here. And then pestilence, coronavirus, Ebola virus, dengue fever, and Lord knows what else is going to jump out at us, and earthquakes in different places or diverse places. These are the beginning of sorrows. Mike, let's move to the 5 waves of energy. Let's talk about the fact. So it sounds like you were right. You said watch China. It happened. You said March, a lot of people are going to die. It's happening. I don't know what that means for April and May, but let me ask you a question. Planet X, Nibiru, planet number 9, the debris field that's coming toward us, you told us to keep an eye on May 12th. That's a telling date. Mega Quake Conference coming up May 1st and 2nd. Mike, what is this about now? What do we need to, of all the things we're talking about tonight, we still got asteroids and meteorites and waves of energy and magnetospheres off the charts and radiation. Help us know what's going to happen.
You know, Pastor Paul, I'm when it comes to space right now, because of clusters, inbound clusters, it's really a fight. I'll explain that too. I've noticed that every time we talk, and I meant to point these articles out to you, but every time we talk, there is some of your major agencies are trying their best to have these certain people in their offices, I guess. They're starting to come up with these wild suggestions, and then they tend to fade away. In other words, they're trying to fight an argument that they can't fight. For example, in space right now is an enigma to most people. It's puzzling, and anybody can say anything. But we live in the days where demonstration will be seen. We live in the days where people will actually see things change in the heavens, right? I look at the fact when I'm going to give you a hint of something that they try. Most of you heard about that. Most people heard about that little tiny moon, right?
Yeah.
Right? But that was a mockery, and I'll tell you why. Because you remember I discussed with you how I said if people saw another moon in the sky, you think that'll get their attention.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
was almost like a mockery, a little bitty tiny moon. Well, see, the problem is they have the optics to see, to calculate, to see exactly the formation that's about to take place, and they know what people are about to behold. They do not want to accept the fact that things are going to change outside of their control, much like this virus. And if everybody would watch the reaction of people concerning this virus, and this year, they're just lost in the sauce, for lack of better terms. They don't know what to do. Nations are truly being distressed. It's one thing if they were in control of it, doing it themselves. It's another when they are in distress, right? Because even the Bible says they'll be in distress, which means they have no solution to what's happening. Now, when people look up into space, and it's a major change in the heavens, an undeniable change, followed by danger. But that'll be added to the danger we're having on the surface, because earlier this year I did hint around that we're going to deal with several things this year, and in the heavens that'll be on top of what we're already dealing with. And when we get to that point, people are going to be somewhat wore down, and when they start seeing this stuff in the heavens, that's just going to add to more of a difficulty level for people.
Well, Mike, can you give us a clue what it is we might see? We're going to see comets, asteroids, or strange sights?
One of the major things we're going to start seeing are a massive color change in the atmosphere, and I do mean a color change. There will be several factors involved in this color change, but we will see it. We're also going to notice that it's going to be a first. You're going to hear this term over and over again. This is the first time we have observed the sun do so-and-so. This is the first time we have ever observed this or that in the heavens. You're going to start hearing that term a lot. And when this radiation hits up to a point where the sun can no longer maintain its natural state of being, it's going to begin to chemically change. Our sun is going to chemically change, and there's nothing anybody can do about it, because the radiation has increased 18% yet again, just last month to this very day.
What?
It increased
18%. Wait, what? Are you serious? Are you saying on the sun it has, or on the earth?
the radiation that's coming into our solar system,
Yeah.
right, has increased 18% as of that began last month. 18%. It increased 18% since 2000 and what was it, 15?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It did this in less than 3-4 weeks.
What?
So,
now, whoa. Okay, so Mike, is this breaking news? Because you have to understand. I mean, that's not being reported out there. I mean,
they're not going to report that. They'll catch up to it when people start. Here's the way they work with this. If a person cannot, if they can't calculate it, if they can't solve it, right? Because people are bound to their instruments. So they can tweak any of the readings on any of the instruments anytime they get ready. And we live in the days where they have live editing, which means you can send a message, and before that message gets to the intended phone or target, they can change that right before it gets there. So we live in that age. So long as they have control of the optics, they can say whatever they want to say. But we have something called amateur astronomers, right? They will be able to see. Then they will discern, and they're going to catch up, because now they're going to have physical changes in the atmosphere, physical changes in the sun, physical changes in the moon, and physical changes in our orbit around the sun. Our days and nights are about to be mixed up. Everybody can forget about this 24-hour cycle thing. We're going to have, it's going to be as though the Earth has backfired or something, right? Like it didn't want to finish its rotation or something of that nature. We're going to have massive disruptions, and everybody's going to see it. Now, I can tell you right now, when the days and the nights are off, they're going to come up with something to make it normal for everybody. And most of the people who have this mindset in the world, they're going to ignore the fact that the Earth just skipped an entire day or something of that nature. We're living in those days where these things are absolutely going to happen. And with all this stuff in space and these interruptions and these gravitational anomalies that are taking place, causing planets to not rotate, that's a lot. Do you know how much it takes to stop a planet from rotating and then to restart that planet in its rotation? That's a disaster, number one.
Well, that's a pole shift. I mean, that's going to be a pole shift of biblical proportion. I mean, Mike, you're talking to the end of time. You're talking about the heavens. You're talking about the heavens are shaking, the earth is spin. Brock, play it. Guys, get your tickets for this conference. Yeah, make it quick. Do it now. Just do it now. People need to sign up. It's we're running out of time. I mean, are you serious? Are you serious? So, Mike, I mean, okay. What in the world can cause that? What can cause? Is that Nibiru? Is that Planet X? Is that a gravitational pull on the entire solar system? What is that? Mike.
Our back door, which puts us into proximity to have those same effects sometime this year, similar or the same effects. So whatever's happening to them will most certainly happen to us in the months to come, because they're being affected by massive forces are interrupting things all over the place.
Okay, Mike, whatever, for about a minute there, you were just totally like a robot, okay? Your voice went into this, totally was encrypted, and now it's back. So I don't know what I said, but they're probably listening. Maybe we're getting in too touchy a spot right now.
Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good now, but for about, yeah. So something, whatever it was you were explaining, what could cause the planets to stop spinning, whatever that was, that got hacked, and you went into you sound like an encrypted robot.
No. Well,
you'll hear it. You'll hear it if you listen back to the program when we post it. You'll. I don't know what I would say that was. I've never heard that before. That was new.
Well, Pastor Paul, we really have some massive forces inbound. They're coming to us, and there's nothing we can do about it but observe. And we've at that time in history where it seems like all these things are coming at one time. It seems like everything is coming at one time. And they have observed solar systems being out there in space. You know, even some of these bodies with some of these stars with a few planets or certain systems that have some type of orbital structure, they have seen them absolutely disrupted by some of the forces that are inbound. We're going to deal with those forces within months. These waves are getting more sporadic and strong. There are other pulses that were not detected this year, but have now just been detected, and they are also inbound. We're going to catch parts of the some of the energy and some of the anomalies from that also. So these things are really conflagrating into a one of those just major problems that will likely send everything into a type of distress mode. That's why I said this containment factor may not end. It just may not end. If we start having chaotic happenings during this containment cycle that we're in because of this, because of COVID-19 or coronavirus, if that happens during this time, then we're going to face a way of living that we're just simply not used to. It's not going to kill everybody. It's just going to stress everybody because it's radically different from what we're used to.
Mike, here's a question. I don't want to hold you too long, but President Trump, now some people would say some of this is being manufactured or manipulated, or as Rahm Emanuel would say, never let a good crisis go to waste. Is the president being overwhelmed at this point, inundated with absolute, like Job, like bad news after bad news after bad news? Is this to try to, is some of this to try to remove him? Will he get cooperation, like cutting payroll taxes for everybody in America like he's trying to do? Or do you think that there will still be resistance in the Congress and not want to really help him as they try to just break him all the way down? What do you think?
Pastor, that's a very good question. There is a struggle, there is a fight internally in the U.S., but I see something very different than what the common eye can see. I'll give you an example of what I see coming. I see a very stressful moment coming upon us. It's going to force people to cooperate at higher levels. They're going to have no choice. Yes, they will resist as they are doing now, but the situation is going to get worse, and the potential is going to be worse, which is going to force their hand to work together. There's a lot of anger right now separating everybody. I believe that President Trump is doing exactly what he thinks he should be doing. But I also believe that the other side is so compromised emotionally that they can't think straight. And it's going to take a whole lot more than a second term, a whole lot more than changes in policy to get these folks to actually start looking at the people again. And we're about to face one of those moments, one of many. I have to also note, again, that in prophecy, and I have to state this again, in prophecy, why didn't the USA come to Israel's aid when Jerusalem is being trampled underfoot? What happened to us? Why didn't we show up, right? How can that even happen when the USA exists? So with all these in mind, we're going to face some crisis moments. It's not the end of the world by any means, but it is like an alarm clock. And I do believe, there's no way all these things can happen just at one time, especially from even recent observations in the earth and outside of the earth. These things seem to be coordinated outside of man's control. So that's why I can't, most things you would think are somewhat manipulated by those on the inside, but man is not controlling space, and man is not controlling those things in the core of the earth. So how in the world can they be choreographed with man's doings, in that way? So I believe this is beyond humanity itself.
Yeah,
this is something else. This is something different this time.
I have to agree with you, and that's why I wanted to ask that question. And I knew what your answer would be. You would go right back to the biblical narrative. This is beyond. Now, man can manipulate numbers, and man can maybe plant seed in the air and use HAARP, and maybe manipulate the weather a little bit. And maybe man can do certain things like fire off a nuke. And wars and rumors of wars are certainly controlled by man and certain weaponry. But at the end of the day, what we're facing right now when the core of the earth is heating up and melting, when the poles are threatening to shift, when the heavens are shaking and the inbound debris field is coming, man ain't got nothing to do with that. And then you throw in the coronavirus and the economy and the reaction by humans. Again, it's as if we're reading Matthew 24, folks. I mean, we are reading it, and it is happening. The beginning of sorrows are here, and the point from here on, it's going to get ugly, okay? It's getting ugly, but it's going to get uglier. At some point, God's in control, as Mike knows, and at some point, God's going to dictate how this thing plays out, and man has a lot to say about it by our reaction, and the church has got to be strong, because if there was ever a time Christians got to be strong, it's right now. And I'm sorry, guys, nobody got raptured yet, okay? We're still here. And some folks thought we'd be gone before they'd ever see today. I'm telling you, we got a little bit ways to go yet. So hang in there. Don't be afraid. Be strong. And Mike, your information is amazing. We got 4,000 people listening right now on our YouTube channel. Plus, I don't know how many were on the backup channel. Probably over 1,000, 1,500 people all over the world listening. And thousands will listen and watch this broadcast in the next 24 to 48 hours. Mike, got to have you back next week. Is there any way we can get you here next Thursday night for another update on what's going on? We may be in martial law.
We must.
Let's stay on it, Mike. We're going to stay on top of it. And I appreciate you coming on tonight. We'll see you next Thursday night, which I think is the 19th of March.
Okay, will do. Will do.
And thank you for being frank with us, being honest with us, and encouraging us to not to lose faith, not to lose hope, not to panic. We got to be the strong ones in this time. Pray for our president. I don't know how his shoulders, the weight that are on it right now, might be overwhelming for any human being. I wouldn't want to put this on Bernie Sanders, guys, or Joe Biden. No way do you want to put this kind of pressure. Trump is literally overwhelmed with it. Anybody would be. Mike, thank you, Mike.
God bless you, Pastor Paul.
God bless. Mike around the world, guys. Seriously, amazing information tonight. You heard we were being censored a little bit there. There's no doubt about that. But I don't want to go too far into that either. I just want to say that